Hello, everyone, and welcome back again Today is Monday, February 26th. It is noon, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. I am your host today. My name is Jason Leeser, and I'm going to be walking you through everything. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just pull up your web browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all, except for the book, which is still currently out of print. Still trying to get my hands on a copy. But no matter where you were watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest and greatest, most up to date information, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. You do not have to subscribe right away. You can pick one of three different options, starting off with a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, or you can get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals, or you can take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. For fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself, cannot recommend that history course enough. It is absolutely astounding. Trust me, you will not be disappointed in that if you choose that option. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with weekly and special event live stream details, as well as access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku app. It has 13 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as access to a whole host of professional development courses from over 20 world class tattoo artists. Um, Lettering guides from BJ Betts, or skull seminars from Bob Tyrell, or maybe you want to tattoo a half sleeve like Andre Malcolm. All of those and more can be found for purchase at reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please let me know in the comments and in the chats. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. And hey, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. That way you can stay up to date for all of the new upcoming shows and episodes. And you can stay up to date with all of the latest and greatest news happening on this channel. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m., we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies and cover some of those fundamental aspects of fine art that we apply from day to day in the tattoo industry. Things such as color theory or perspective, or just drawing techniques and different philosophies on how to look at things. All of that and more is discussed. That's 9 a.m. on Mondays, Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that, on Mondays at noon, you have this show, which is Skill Building Monday Drawing Group with me, Jason Leeser, where we get to go through and really work on some of our skills that we use day to day, whether that's working on color theory and painting and tips and tricks in Procreate, which we'll be covering a little bit today. Maybe it's going through and working on some of our fundamentals. But these are all skills that we use every day, whether we realize it or not. And this is a great place to go through and really, you know, dial some of those in and really pick some of those out to work on to help us become better at being an artist. Following the 12 o'clock Skill Building Monday drawing group, on Mondays at 9 p.m., we have A subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And that is only available for people that have a Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution or Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription. That is only for people that, pay for the program. I can tell you from firsthand experience, taking the Monday evening drawing groups alone is well worth the investment. It I've been doing it quite frequently over the past 2 years, and you can see a noticeable difference in the work that I'm putting out now as compared to the work that I was putting out before I started doing that. Every week, we cover a different topic in the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, things to help us really build our skill set and really drive home some of those core fundamentals and principles. And it is absolutely priceless. The amount of knowledge and camaraderie that you get when you join those live Monday evening drawing groups hosted by Sandy. So I highly recommend you guys check that out. Following the 9 p.m. on Monday subscriber exclusive drawing group, on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly with Lauren Gregory, Jake Meeks, and Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and discuss different things happening in the tattoo world, different types of tattoo news. So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest legislation being passed or all the new changes that are happening in this industry, if you want to stay up to date on what's going on in this industry, take a look at the Tattoo Weekly, where they do go through and discuss weekly updates on what's happening. Following Tuesday's episode, on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing. Maybe it's getting a travel visa to work in another country. Maybe it's a focus on marketing or advertising, or what can you do to try to get more people to really take notice of your work. All of that and more, as well as financing, different types of client streamlining, booking processes. All of that and more is discussed during the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, and that is Wednesdays at noon. Following that, on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker, where we get to go through and share some of our stories about our collections of tattoos and what it's take to get into this point. We also do quite a few different interviews during the Tattoo Collecting podcast, so make sure that you check that out as well. We have a number of special events coming up. For example, tonight, live at 6 p.m., we will have Paint Night with Renee Little. Make sure you tune in for that. That will be broadcast live. Always a great time to go through and work on some of our paintings and our drawings. Really go through and, it's a great place for people to just hang out and make art. And that is going on tonight at 6 p.m. Following that, March 22nd through 24th, I will be at the Skindustry Tattoo Expo in Allentown, PA. Make sure if you have any questions about reinventing the tattoo, the programs, or any of the other events that we are involved with, feel free to swing on by to the Skindustry Expo in Allentown, and I'll be happy to talk your ear off about all of that and a lot more at that point. Coming up May 17th through 19th in Columbus, Ohio, Reinventing the Tattoo will be live at the Hell City Tattoo Convention. And get this, right? We have got a who's who of tattooing attending Hell City this year. We have got Paul Booth, the master of darkness. He will be one of the headliners for this year's Hell City Tattoo Convention, along with Derb Morrison, Joe Capobianco, a legend in the tattoo industry. Jimmy Litwalk will be there. Nico Perez, all the way from New Jersey, will be coming out to Hell City, Columbus, Ohio. Black and Gray work is absolutely next level. Ty McEwen, James Vaughn, Jesse Levitt, Ron Earhart, Marshall Bennett, Seth Mushrush, and of course myself. We will all be there. We will all be tattooing live at the Hell City Tattoo Convention in Columbus, Ohio. Sorry, I get a little bit excited talking about that show, but it really is an all-star lineup this year. You cannot go wrong. If you really want to see some of these people live in person, ask them questions, watch them work, help to understand their process a little bit more. Take a look at the Hell City Tattoo Convention. It is absolutely spectacular. Following that, June 23rd through 25th, Reinventing the Tattoo will be live again at the Red Tree Gallery for a special live event. And that will all be co hosted by Rember and Rember's different studios. We have got an incredible lineup of seminars, both live and I believe some are being broadcast. And that will be happening live at the Red Tree Gallery and True Tube's headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, June 23rd through the 25th. I would like to go through at this point in time and thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen, starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. As we know, living in this post pandemic era, there's still certain tattoo events that are getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you want to stay up to date with the most up to date information on tattoo conventions and events happening at a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on visiting. It's how I usually book my vacations. It all revolves around tattoo conventions. Take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They're 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking to streamline your booking process, to make everything go a lot easier, if you're looking for a new website, or if you're trying to come up with a way to get more people to come in that want to get the kind of tattoos that you really want to do, take a look at tattoonow.com. These are the people that make that happen, and they have been doing it for over 20 years. So take a look, tattoonow.com. Of course, this would not be Reinventing the Tattoo without a very personal, heartfelt, and professional thank you and shout out to Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. I believe he still has a few custom coil machines for sale if you're into collecting those, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional original oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to go through and say a very special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. It is the number one resource if you are looking to find out more information on what it takes to become a tattoo apprentice or get more knowledge into what a tattoo apprenticeship could be like. Take a listen to the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols, and it will blow your mind. It covers all types of stuff about what to expect, what makes for a good apprenticeship, what not a good apprenticeship is kind of like, things to be careful of, warning signs, the whole nine. Take a look. That's the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please go through, post a positive review on the channel, help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community. Or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. It's kind of a long-winded intro for today, but I do apologize for that. Okay, yes, open is that's fine. Okay, cool. So today we are still on the topic of simplify everything. Now that's not to say that you need to go overly simplistic with everything, but simplifying your process is definitely something that is beneficial in the long run. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Simplify your drawing too. Focus on simple shapes. Um, I forget who it was, but someone pretty famous once said that simplicity is the ultimate elegance. Now, I'm a believer in that to an extent. I do also believe that, when things become overly simplistic, it can kind of detract from the technical ability in it. Um, you know, it's uh, it's kind of a tricky situation, but it does hold up and it does hold true. Let me get this going. That's a different window. Sorry. There we go. I'm going to throw that up there. And I'm going to switch over. Today, I'm going to be working with some 3D models. Just going through and doing some sketching, focusing on some simple shapes, simple angles, and yeah, just really kind of focusing on trying to get everything blocked in. I've really been getting into a lot of just playing around and experimenting with some of these 3D models that people are using. And some of the things that you can do on them are absolutely fantastic. If anyone out there does work on an iPad and you are interested in trying some of these 3D models, or if you are interested in going through and playing around with them, or if you have questions about working with them, I will be happy to answer whatever questions I possibly can. Like I said, just now starting to dive into it, but I'm finding a lot of great potential for going through and kind of illustrating certain things, showing placement, showing different types of compositions, ways to deal with difficult spots and situations. Um, I'm not contracted by any specific company to use specific 3D models, but essentially they do work pretty much the same across the board. Some are better than others. Highly recommend the ones from Tattoo Smart. But I've been playing around with some from a different company as well, and they are pretty similar as far as the way that they work and what you can do with them. So without further ado, let me get over to that. And I believe that is here. Awesome. And I'll just throw that up in the corner. Now, this doesn't exactly go with the whole theme for the past couple of weeks of simplicity because 3D models are pretty elaborate, but they're also a lot of fun to work with. Woo! And this is just a male arm and chest panel that is a 3D model that I downloaded. And as you can see, you can move it all around the screen. You can adjust the angles. So there's actually a lot that you can really do with 3D models. Um, some of them can even be really, really helpful when it comes down to understanding perspective. So if you use Procreate and you're trying to get ideas on different perspectives, really trying to jazz up your art, really trying to, come up with original ideas and concepts, sometimes what you can do, if you can find them online, is pick up some 3D models of whatever it is you're trying to create. Maybe it's a skull, maybe it's a hand, maybe you're looking for different hand positions, right? There's different apps you can get that'll focus strictly on hands. Sometimes it's helpful if you can't find a specific app that will let you deal with um, basically working with a model in three-dimensional space. Sometimes you can download a 3D model and you won't be able to manipulate it in Procreate, but you can go through and draw on top of it, and that can be really helpful. Ah, nectar of the gods, coffee. I love it. So I've just got this is a sketch and a drawing that I came up with a couple weeks ago. Just wanted to kind of illustrate like what it could look like as maybe an upper arm half sleeve. And all I did was basically drop that in on top of as a new layer of the 3D model, played around with the positioning a little bit. It's not, it's still very, very rough. It's just basically a concept, an idea, a sketch, just something to kind of illustrate what I would like to do and where this design I believe would look, you know, if not the best, pretty close to it. But I noticed it kind of stopped short a little bit. So today I'm just going to be working on maybe drawing in some waves or maybe adding a couple other little chrysanthemum petals coming down. Both could work really, really well. Maybe I'll do both. I don't really have an idea just yet. I'm still kind of sketching around. I'm going to switch that over to that. And you can see some directional lines I've already kind of sketched in. Just trying to go through and really kind of hammer down like where do I want things to flow. I know up here I've got a pretty decent flow coming down here on a forearm. That works really well on the backside of the forearm coming down from the elbow, kind of makes this little V shape. This is one of the other really interesting things that you can do with 3D models is you can kind of map out flow of an arm. If you have a project coming up, can kind of help you go through and determine, oh well, this isn't going to look right if I put this here, or maybe this isn't really formatted for this area that well. But it can really help you visually just kind of break things down. Um, and that way you can kind of take a look and critique your composition a little bit better. Say I want to have, my basic flow coming out from the top of the forearm. This would come down here a little bit and kind of wrap around by the wrist. Just trying to create that upward movement with these basic arcs can really help draw your eye to where you want people to look. And that's kind of an old secret from great, Renaissance, art masters. They always got you to look at exactly where they wanted you to look without even really trying to make you look there. And to me, it always stands as one of the hallmarks of, a truly great artist when your eye doesn't even really pay attention to things that they don't want you to look at, but instead goes exactly to where they want you to focus your attention. And you see that a lot with a lot of really fantastic fine artists, as well as a lot of the much better tattooers out there. Um, they really go through and they force you to look exactly where it is that you want to look, or exactly where it is that they want you to look, not where you want to look. I think you guys understood what I meant. So I just went through and just got a little bit of a basic flow down. I already had some lines there, but this is just one of the things that you can do with 3D models. Maybe I'll just kind of drop the opacity on that a little bit, open up a new layer. Now I've got two different directions that I could potentially take the bottom of this arm. I can essentially have something flowing down from the top portion of it, coming down in this direction. Too big. Um, so I can have something coming down this direction, or the other option that I have is I can actually take using those same directional lines and I can have something coming up to kind of meet and draw my attention from the base by the wrist, and I can bring that up and move that upwards as opposed to having just everything falling down from this skull. Maybe I'll do a little bit of both. Who knows? But it's just one of many different options that there are. Um, I think having a combination of both would be the most beneficial simply because you don't want to go purely from the bottom by the wrist up to everything going on here because, well, especially not with a curve like that. I would want this to come down and kind of give this an opposite curve. Even if I was going up, I would want it to have something more like that. So it would almost be a continuation, but it would draw your eye upwards, in this direction, as opposed to coming down. Now, where that may end up creating some type of a visual conflict is because I do have these petals up at the top and these are moving downward, right? Creating a directional flow. And I'll do that in red. So this is creating a downward directional flow. Why is that not bright enough? And I'm just all over the place today. Too big. Let's go brighter. So these are coming down, right? Even this one's kind of coming and curling back up. This one's coming down, coming down. So that's drawing your eye downward, right? The rest of these are great because they're curling up. They're bringing your eye back up and around to really help you focus on what it is I want you to look at, which is this skull. Now, these directionals, petals down at the bottom could probably be a little bit better. I could have maybe had some other ones, but even the leaves that are there as filler, and granted, this would make for a great half sleeve, but it doesn't have to be half or pectoral or whatever. Today, though, we are focusing on the bottom portion of it. But the reason why I brought up the direction that all of these petals are moving is because if I've got these moving down and then I've got something coming up here, it creates a visual choke point, right? An area of conflict with the movement, even though everything may still flow correctly and it may still aesthetically look pleasing, compositionally, it would create this kind of area of visual conflict, right? Unless I really brought things all the way up and behind these leaves, that could be helpful and continue visual flow without creating any kind of visual conflict. And that's kind of what I want to try to avoid is visual conflict. I'm just trying to create something that is pretty cohesive, that will, kind of complement what I already have going on. So let me go back to my rough sketcher. So my initial thought is I could do some water kind of coming down from here, with maybe, so we could do some water. No, I wanted to have some stuff coming up from the bottom to kind of bring your eye away from the hand. So let's go through. In order to do that effectively, I would have to kind of tuck it back behind this leaf. Things obviously don't have to be, right or, perfect at this point in time. This is just me sketching around, just trying to get an idea of flow, trying to get an idea of composition, just trying to understand directions and how I want things to end up looking. So I'm just going to keep things very simple, very basic. I'm just going to use some very simple lines just to indicate flow. If I was going to do water, how would that branch out? Maybe I'll have another one there. Down here on the back side of the arm, I could probably get away with doing some kind of flow or wave coming down in this direction. But over here, no, that wouldn't work for what I really want to achieve, which is to move my eye upwards. So if I really wanted to do that, we'd create another wave form down here. And just kind of bring that up in that direction. These waves are pretty big, but if I really wanted to go through and maximize my space, maximize my real estate, which is what I always advise my clients to do, um, to do like a whole bunch of really tiny little waves here would just kind of look weird. I'm not saying it wouldn't look right, but if you have all of this other area, I don't want it to be too much and to overpower what I have going on above it. So I'm just kind of sketching in a rough concept for these waves, how they could flow and work. Um, that would be the back side of the arm. Maybe I'll have something coming in here. Maybe I'll have a separate wave coming up around this direction. That'll be more in the foreground. This, by the way, is exactly the kind of stuff I fall asleep at night dreaming about and thinking about, um, because it's, all I really do. Um, but at the same time, it's why I've been able to kind of see some things that maybe other people don't. So it does all pay off. It's kind of a sick obsession I have with tattoos. I'm not going to lie, but it is what it is. It all works out and it's all for a purpose. So if this is a right arm, so if I'm looking at this from the outside, I would definitely want to try to maybe bring something towards the interior. Maybe this is where I'll have a little bit of water overlap. No, that wouldn't be right. Maybe we'll just do another layer of water here. It's kind of one of the downsides to drawing straight on 3D models is you constantly have to rotate it and move it. Whereas if you were drawing on paper, it would be a lot easier on a flat surface. Now, what I could do is go through and say, okay, just show me the 2D texture. You can kind of see the scribbles that I have going on so far, but at the same time that I have that going on, you kind of see the overlap here, right? And if I go back into a 3D model, say I'll just do a curly Q in this area. If I make this 3D again, this is the downside to drawing straight on a 3D model. You kind of see the seam, right, of where that unwrapped sleeve is. So, and anything that is outside of the bounds of that unwrapped sleeve automatically gets cut off. Whereas if you draw on it as a 3D model, it doesn't get cut off and will continue to be seamless. So I could do something like this. And if we unwrap it, we can see half of it's there and half of it's over there. This other part that got cut off, well, that wouldn't exist anymore. Not on the 3D model, at least. Um, Same thing with this little corner here. If you look at this little corner of the leaf, that actually ends up getting cut off a little bit when I rewrap it as a 3D model. You can kind of see that right there. So there are advantages and disadvantages to working on 3D models. Um, if you are going to work on them, my recommendation is draw on them as 3D models and not as two-dimensional and then trying to wrap it around, because you're going to have certain spots that do end up getting cut off, and it's not going to look super, super cohesive. It's not going to give you that continuous wrap unless you really go through and really do a lot of planning in advance, trying to figure out exact angles and levels and where everything lines up. Sometimes. So from here, I'm going to create a new layer with my sketch pencil, and I'm just going to make it a bit smaller. What do I have going on over here? Ah, yes. So here I'm just going to go through and kind of refine this a little bit more. Maybe I'll give this a little wave. Right? Maybe we'll give this even like a little branch coming off of it. This we could do, this would be the back portion of a much larger waveform. Always build your layers, always work in layers and build on top of each other, just like you would if you were working with tracing paper back in the day. Um, I was notorious for using more tracing paper than anyone else at the old studio that I used to work at, simply because I would do my rough initial sketch, doing layout, composition, and all that stuff. And then I would use another piece over top of that to refine that, and another piece over top of that to refine that, another piece over top of that to refine that, until I was finally ready to go through and do like a black line drawing. But at that point in time, I'd already used up maybe a quarter of a pad of sketch paper, um, or tracing paper. So, after that, the studio decided that I probably shouldn't, or they probably shouldn't be supplying me with tracing paper anymore, and that I would have to start picking that up on my own, which I was fine to do. That's fine. It just kind of goes to my process and the way that I think and look about different things. You know, one of the blessings of the iPad is that we no longer have to go through and use tracing paper, although I do still prefer the feel of it. And I do still love the process of working with it. Um, it just, with the amount of trees that I've probably drawn on in my life, it's definitely a lot more eco friendly. So save a tree. Cool. So for this part, I'm just going to have this coming over. And then here, we're going to take this up. Now, I always like to sketch with really, really big pencils. Not everyone does. Um, Use whatever size is comfortable for you. I just like doing it because it's very loose, and I've really been trying to focus on keeping things more loose and more simple over the past month or two. Um, and it just kind of allows me to go through and do that. So I'm no longer really worried about, okay, well, how pointy are the ends of these waves? Is it going to look right? I'm just really kind of sketching out and refining as I go. But if you watch me sketch long enough, you'll also start to realize that as I refine and I refine and I refine, my pencil size gets much, much smaller. It also gets much more dark. Um, and depending on what color I'm sketching with, much more saturated and much more pure. Right now, I'm just using like a very, very light opacity, by default. So the sketch pencil that I'm using now, I actually customized and set up just for my preferred method of sketching, not necessarily, um, everyone's not going to necessarily enjoy sketching with this pencil because it doesn't fit to us like it does to mine. But it is something that I do enjoy using. I've actually created multiple versions of this sketching pencil. This is the smaller one. This is my standard go-to, which is a bit bigger in as size goes for more blocking in like shapes, tones, values, just keeping things nice and loose. But no matter how hard I press or how high I put up that opacity, it's still always super light. And that's because I do a lot of layer sketching and a lot of volume sketching. And that I need to be able to see and build those individual layers to get them to be exactly what I want them to be. This one's going to curl over more and more and more and more, creating a that one will come back a little more. This one will be inset a little more. Then this would end up moving further behind. This would have a little bit more of a bump. Good. Good. Cool. This would come down, give this another piece, maybe another one there, and this guy would have a little bit coming off. And you'll kind of see what I'm doing as I'm going through and sketching on this. If you watch this show long enough and watch this episode long enough, you'll start to see me really refine some things and really get to that point where I can turn around and be like, oh, yeah, this is a perfect, or not perfect, but this is going to be an acceptable concept for me to actually go through and really refine it, really go through and develop it a bit more. Um, Nothing I draw is perfect, but with enough refinement, I can get close enough to it. If anyone has any comments or anything like that, that they would, any questions about anything, dealing with anything that I'm doing, by all means, please let me know. And I was thinking about, this show earlier in the week, and I did want to issue a challenge out to other people. And I wanted to challenge people to get outside their comfort zone more often. Um, it's always beneficial to step away from your comfort zone, regardless of, where you're at, what stage you're at. Try something new. Try a different medium or a different style, or try a different process than what you're used to. Um, if it's not for you and you absolutely hate it after giving it a true, honest shot, that's fine. But you'll never know until you try, and you'll never understand the benefits or disadvantages of a certain process or a certain way of doing things until you at least give it a true, honest try. And that means doing it regularly, giving it a shot, and really trying to do your best to apply it to everything that you've got. Um, Same thing goes with machines, right? Uh, if you really want to understand a machine and you really want to get comfortable using a different machine or a new machine that you got, rather than just pulling out your daily runner and having that set up all the time, you're going to default to that. You are. That is a psychological fact, because you're going to get frustrated, and it's like, well, why would I waste my time getting to understand this when my daily runner's right here and I know I could do this whole piece knocked out in, you know, a small fraction of that time. It's like, well, that is true. However, if you do that, you're not going to learn anything new and you're not going to see what that machine is really capable of. Granted, I'm not an advocate of that. I don't believe that machines make the artist. I think the artist makes the machine. I've seen incredible work done by people that have been using, the cheapest stuff that they can find. Same thing with artists and painters. I know some painters out there that use literally the cheapest, most economical and, poor quality brushes you can imagine, and they're creating masterpieces with them. Um, I was actually recently tattooing the daughter of one of America's preeminent photographers, and they were telling me stories about how they've done incredible work using disposable cameras, cheap disposable film cameras from, the 90s and whatnot. They've done incredible photography with those alone. A lot of it is understanding your medium, understanding what you want to try to achieve with it, and then going through and making it work. Maybe you need to add some different lights or whatever. But, it was fascinating for me to just hear them say that because, I'm one of those people that I like new things. I like, fancy, exciting things. And, I'm always about like, okay, well, what would be the advantage to this? Oh, okay, there's not much of an advantage to that. Okay, so let me try something different. Let me try something else. Oh, this is supposed to be really good for that. Okay, cool. I'll give that a go. And I'll try things out. But because I'm constantly trying things out, it does kind of make it difficult for me to go through and really see what things are truly capable of. So, but just to see what can be done is astounding, right? So, just some food for thought for people. Um, buying a new tattoo machine isn't necessarily going to make you a better artist. Learning how to use what you got is definitely going to take you a lot further. Just food for thought. I'm not saying the new machine won't be more reliable. I'm not saying it won't be more versatile. I'm not saying that it won't be a better long term investment. But as far as the artwork being created, if there are people out there creating unbelievable tattoos using the cheapest machines they can find, kind of goes to show you that, maybe it's not the machine, maybe it's the person, maybe it's the technique, maybe it's focusing on the wrong things. Um, that was a huge revelation to me a few years back that I was focusing more on my machines than I was on my technique and on my art. And when I stopped focusing on that and I started focusing on my art and not my machines, um, it's almost like within a month period of time, things really started to change for me. So, once again, just some food for thought. It's nothing crazy, but, sometimes just looking at things in a different way can really be helpful. Maybe we'll throw another one here. Now, as I refine and as I go through and I build layer upon layer, that's when things get really, really interesting because I'll take this black layer, I'll drop the opacity to it, then I'll do another layer on top of that of sketching with a different color. Maybe I'll use red and I'll refine that a little bit more. But this is just kind of solidifying these few layers and this little bit of a sketch so that I can go through and add and refine some more. So, as always, if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, I am all ears and I am more than happy to talk your ear off about just about anything. If no one has any comments or questions about anything, then I will probably end up wrapping this show up in a few minutes. But, I always like to give the option for people to come through, voice their own opinions, and see where the discussion takes us. I was trying something a little different. Quarter. It's still very different than drawing on skin with like a skin scribe or a Sharpie. It's not anywhere near what I'm used to, but pretty good for layout, pretty good for conceptualizing stuff, sketching mostly. Yeah, so we'll see if there are any comments. Doesn't really look like there are any. So I'll probably wrap this show up in just a few minutes. Just trying some different styles and different stuff. And kind of see what we got going on, see if I like it. Throw that back up there and we'll see how things are looking. Eh, just some waveforms, but you kind of get the idea and the gist. I think they're honestly too small, and I'll probably go back through and redraw all of this and make everything a lot bigger because I want to simplify my shapes and my forms. But that is for another day. Let me go through and we're going to switch this back over. So, for anyone that's out there that may want to reach out to me individually, feel free to go through. You can see my Instagram right up here at Philly Inc. You can also email me, Jason at reinventingthetattoo.com. For those of you that might live in the southeastern Pennsylvania area, um, Southeast PA, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, anywhere around there, You can also find me at the Inkwell Tattoo in Southampton, Pennsylvania. Please feel free to stop by, book an appointment. I'll be happy to get you in to tattoo you. My books never close. Let's do something fun and make something happen. Anyone out there that may want to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, if you have a topic for a new show coming up or something you would like us to discuss on these shows moving forward, please, by all means, shoot us an email at management@reinventingthetattoo.com and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching today. Hope to see you guys next week. And until then, keep your hands moving, stay safe, stay busy, and I will catch everyone next week on Monday at noon. Take care and be safe.